like her boobs bounced in the sun, and her cleavage glistened in the wind. Like, what the fuck? All right. Okay, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is September, woohoo! Spooky season is upon us. It is officially fall, even though it's 5 trillion degrees outside. But that means it is time for my August wrap up, woohoo! I read 5 books in August, nothing too impressive. I'm reading one now too, so it's like 5.5, we'll say. And the books I read in August really ranged from ones I really couldn't stand to ones that I really, really loved. So this is gonna be a very passionate, emboldened wrap up for you. So I hope you're excited. I don't know if I should go in chronological order or worst to best or best to worst. I might do best to worst as like a little teaser for me yelling at the end. Let's start off with the best books that I read in August. These are actually 2 books in one because it's a duology that I got recommended off of TikTok because BookTok has taken over my life. But it's fine. It's fine. I can totally afford to just keep buying new books every day. It's fine. It's totally fine. But the best books that I read were The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen. The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen. So The Bridge Kingdom is by Danielle Jensen. That is the first book in this duology, and I loved this book. These were again more of the romance, fantasy romance with a little bit of spice that TikTok keeps recommending me, and I'm kind of falling down this rabbit hole, and I'm loving every second of it. So the first book in this duology, The Bridge Kingdom, follows our main character of Lara. She is a princess from whatever country, I can't remember the name of, like Macedonia or something. That's not right. But she was raised in the desert with all of her other like half-sisters. The king, her father, like has a harem of women. He basically just like takes all these beautiful women and has them as like wives. And so he has like 1 billion kids because he's sick in the head. And so all of her and all of her half-sisters who were born around the same time are raised in this like facility in the desert to become like warrior princesses, because one of them is destined through this treaty to marry King Arin of the Bridge Kingdom, of this neighboring warring country. And so the king wants them to kill him eventually, or betray him, find out the secrets of this kingdom when they marry him. And so she's been trained her whole life for this mission, and then she goes to the Bridge Kingdom and meets King Arin and learns all about this country, and she's spying on them and supposed to, you know, give all this information over to her father so they can destroy this country. But she's like getting to know a bit about this kingdom, and like, you know, maybe this king isn't so bad, he's kind of hot, these people seem nice enough, like maybe I shouldn't do that. But yeah, she's a badass, she's funny, we like her. It's like morally gray, not at least morally gray, like they're both good people. That's what I like about it. It's enemies to lovers, but it's not like one of them is just like a bad guy and like a terrible person, which I don't like that. I'm like, why would you be in love with an asshole? It's just that they're enemies because of circumstance. Like they're both good people who are trying to do what's best for their people and their kingdoms, which puts them as enemies. But like, it was so good, 5 out of 5. So then I immediately went and read The Traitor Queen. Even that name, that's a good title. It's a good ass title, and this one was really good too. I wish this was like a trilogy. I don't, because then I wouldn't have been able to finish it because it wouldn't be out yet, but like I need more from them. There's gonna be more books in this series following other characters that we meet in The Traitor Queen. So hopefully some characters from this duology will still kind of, we can hear about what happens to them after. But yeah, I loved it. Read it in 2 days. Literally within 48 hours, I read both of these books. Probably less than 48 hours. It was 5 out of 5. Loved. I'm gonna say after those, so if those were let's get a list going. Best books. I'm gonna go with Traitor Queen, Bridge Kingdom. And then we're gonna go with Adnan's story, The Search for Truth and Justice After Serial by Rabia Chaudry. So I'm sure most of you, this is the book, this is the the cover. So Adnan Syed was accused and convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend Hae Min Lee in the year 2000 in Maryland, around the Baltimore area, I believe. And the very infamous podcast Serial, basically the #1 true crime podcast of all time, especially when it came out, followed that story and kind of questioning whether that conviction was valid, whether or not he actually did kill her. And the podcast itself kind of showed evidence that proved that he did and evidence that proved that he didn't. Proved for both of them. Proved that he did, proved that he didn't. Now, Adnan's story, this book, was written by Rabia Chaudry, who's a childhood friend of Adnan, and she felt that the Serial podcast did not show all of the evidence to support Adnan's story, and that it was basically trying to show both sides to kind of for entertainment purposes, that the podcast was completely for entertainment purposes, and then it benefited the producers if the story seemed like you don't know, like a whodunit, kind of like, did he do it, did he not? And Rabia was like, I know he didn't do it, and so I'm going to write a whole book with all of the evidence proving that he didn't. I am very interested in true crime podcasts and books, because as women, I don't know why we are obsessed with that. I think it feels like the more you know, the less likely it is to happen to you. And I did listen to Serial, and I was not as obsessed with it as everyone else, because at the time, I don't know, I wanted an answer, I think. I wanted he didn't do it, and this is all the proof. And it was very, like, it still felt like maybe he probably did. And then this book, I gave 3 stars. And it was definitely 100% on Adnan's side, which was also, I mean, I don't want you to be like, this is so confusing. How do I word this? I just feel like I wanted all of the facts. I wanted to look, you know, like I wanted to be like a juror and have all of the evidence just spread out on a table in front of me so I could look over all of it and come to my own decision. Whereas with both Serial and Adnan's story, everyone has like a motive in the way they're telling the story. So with Serial, it was to be entertaining and to be like a 50-50. He could, he couldn't, you never know. Whereas with Rabia's portrayal, he's her childhood friend, and she totally believes that he didn't do it, and she wants to believe that he didn't do it, and she, as a lawyer as well, has kind of been working with his legal team, is trying to prove that. So it's kind of like only seeing the defense's story. So it was a good book. I liked it. 3 stars. It was kind of middle of the road for me in terms of true crime. This story is just, you know, with all of these, you just want to know. You just want to know what happened. And with this story, I just really don't know, and that's really sad. And it's sad, you know, Hae Min Lee was a young, beautiful, smart girl with the whole world ahead of her, and it's just really tragic what happened to her. And if Adnan did not do it, then it's really, really tragic what happened to him, and it just shows how...
Do you know what you want, then?
But yeah, it just shows how messed up the judicial system is in America, because people go to jail all the time for things they didn't do, and people get away with things all the time that they did do. So, gross. And then number 1, 2, 3, 4 on my list from best to worst was Sweep in Peace by Ilona Andrews. Now, I wanted to love this book so bad. I so desperately wanted to love this book because I love Ilona Andrews. Now, Ilona Andrews is actually a husband and wife duo, and they go by the pen name Ilona Andrews. Now, like, one of my favorite series of all time is the Kate Danielle series, which is a series by them of kind of a vigilante monster hunter with superpowers that's got like a hot husband and like found family in like magical post-apocalyptic Atlanta. Highly recommend that. Every book in that series is 5 out of 5 stars. I love that series. Now this, Sweep in Peace, is number 2 in her Innkeeper Chronicles, in their Innkeeper Chronicles series. I didn't really love the first one, but I kept reading, and this one was just as boring. It's just boring. Like, that's what it is. I think I gave it 3, 2.5, yeah, 2.5 stars. Because it's just, the writing is good, and they're so good at like snarky, like really snarky conversations and like really strong characters, but I just don't really like these characters. Like, they are strong and they are snarky, but like, she's kind of boring. She doesn't have like the bite that Kate Daniels has, and the idea is really interesting. So the Innkeeper Chronicles follows Dina, who is an innkeeper. So basically in this world, there are obviously all different kinds of like different worlds, magical worlds and universes or whatever, and people can travel within all these different worlds, magical people. And when you get to a different world, you can stay at an inn. And an inn is basically kind of like a portal to the other world. It is a safe, neutral territory between all these different kinds of magical creatures. And the inn itself is like alive and kind of magical and feeds off of the magic of the people and the world, whatever. And the innkeepers, the people who run them, are kind of magical creatures themselves, and their job is to keep the peace in the inn and take care of the guests, and to know everything about all the different species and different kinds of peoples that come through. Such an interesting concept. And Dina is an innkeeper in the South. All of the Ilona Andrews books takes place like in the South, Carolinas and Georgias and stuff. So they all have accents. I listen to the audiobooks and they all have like a southern drawl. It's very nice. Not like that. I can't do it. But anyway, I love Ilona Andrews. This series just isn't it for me. I'm gonna have to start. They have a few other series that I'm gonna start because this one's just kind of boring, but it's not the fault of the authors. It's just not my cup of tea. But I highly recommend the Kate Daniels cup of tea because that's it for everyone. 2.5 out of 5. We've made it to the worst book that I read in August, and this book pissed me off so much. So this book I had very high expectations for because the author is very, very famous for having a beautiful writing style, and is an author that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. I read it on fiction by them, but ever since then I've been really wanting to jump into their fiction and have only heard amazing things, and this one is their like most famous book. So I was like, this is gonna be so great. I hated it. I really hated it. I really hated this book. And that book was Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I know. What? You hated Norwegian Wood? I did. I hated Norwegian Wood. Come for me. So this book is it's very in the style of a lot of Japanese fiction where it's kind of small. There's not a ton of plot. It's very character driven, just kind of almost romanticizing like daily life and routine in a way, which I like. And again, the writing was beautiful. He's a wonderful writer, but it was the story, the characters, and the just objectification of women, the complete and utter sexism, the manic pixie dream girl of it all, and the like justifying sexual assault and pedophilia. Excuse me? So Toru is a young man in Tokyo who is going to college, and this book follows him through his perspective of like his college years, where he's boring and lame and like doesn't have any friends, and everyone who he hangs out with is like a total psychopath, and he like barely has any feelings because he's boring and annoying. And basically in high school, he was friends with this couple, and it was like his best friend and his best friend's girlfriend. Now his best friend killed himself very tragically, and that obviously upset Toru. But instead of just like coping with that like a normal person, not that there's a normal way to cope with that kind of loss, but he just decides that he like wants to have sex with his dead best friend's girlfriend, who's also like mentally ill and like grieving very seriously. So he's like, oh, like, we'll walk around and hang out now because your boyfriend's dead and he was my best friend, so we'll bond over that. Like, we love a good trauma bond. And then she, like, there's gonna be a little bit of spoilers in this. Vague spoilers, but I don't think the plot is really, like, why people come for this. It's all about, like, the writing and the prose. But, like, she, like, has a mental breakdown and is, like, sobbing over a dead boyfriend, and he just has sex with her. She's like drunk and sobbing and like cries through the whole thing, and he's like, yeah, let's bone. What? And then she goes to a mental institution, and he keeps going to visit her and like is like, oh yeah, let's like go on a walk, and then like you can give me a hand job in the woods. Like, this author is like Haruki Murakami is like, you know when you see people describe like male authors writing women, anytime they describe a woman, they're like, her boobs bounced in the sun, her cleavage glistened in the wind. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, she was sad, so her nipples droops. Like, that's literally Haruki Murakami. He invented this. All he does is describe women's boobs. And all the women in this book are mentally ill. Where comes in the manic pixie dream girl? Every woman in this book is like severely mentally ill, to the point of like, spoilers and trigger warnings, to the point of like suicide and having to be institutionalized, and he's sexualizing them, and he has sex with like multiple women who are like institutionalized and mentally ill, and he just takes advantage of them. And then one of these women is a pedophile, and he's like, oh, what a quirky thing that happened to you. And they completely victim blame a child, like a 13-year-old child. They're like, oh yeah, she was a little temptress, you know, like that 13-year-old really, she came on to me, I had no choice, and then I had to be institutionalized, but like that was, you know, things. And they're like, that's a good character, we like this character, and then he of course has sex with her too. Are you on drugs, my dude? Dude. Oh my god, nothing about this book was... I can't get over it. And listen, I don't mind an unlikable character. I don't mind, like, an unlikable narrator. Like, give me Holden Caulfield all day. But I'm not supposed to like Holden Caulfield. And maybe I'm not supposed to like this guy either, but it was not clear. Maybe I'm a moron. Maybe I'm a complete idiot and we're supposed to hate this guy, and I just couldn't see that in the text. But there was nowhere where it felt like this guy was supposed to be like a really detestable character. This guy was like supposed to be the hero. And we're supposed to be like, oh, poor this guy. He's had such a hard go of it. Like, he's a monster. And everyone in this book is either a victim or a predator. Literally. Disgraceful. And I know this book was written a long time ago. Not a long time ago, it was written in the 90s. I was alive. Like, it wasn't that, this is in my lifetime. But it was supposed to take place in like the 60s. Still. Pedophilia is still not cute in the 60s. Like, I cannot get over how much I loathe this book. And it's such a bummer because I've heard just such good things about Haruki Murakami's writing, and the writing was good. And I know this book is like a departure from his normal books, so maybe the other ones would be better. Again, I've heard from people that I trust who are well-read, intelligent, feminist, other women have read his work and have liked his other stuff. So, but haven't read this one. I know like 2 people who have read his other work and haven't read this one. They're like, what? I love Haruki. And I was like, girl, don't fucking read this. Don't read this. So maybe I'll try his other stuff. But it just really grossed me out that this is like his most famous one. And I was reading this book on the plane. I was at work and I was reading this book, and a passenger was like, oh, like that's a great book. And I had just started and I was like, oh really? Like, yay. It was some like man. And now I'm like, I want that man to stay the hell away from me. You liked this book? I gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars because the writing was good. I feel like I'm a very generous star giver, rater. Because 1 star, I'm like, this should not have been published. I just hated it, but I gave it 2 stars because, like, he's still a good writer, I guess. And it wasn't, like, totally garbage. Though I would light it on fire, but it was a cute cover, though. Anyway, those are the 5 books that I read in August. I'm also currently reading Kiss of Deception, listening to that on audiobook, so you guys will get an update on that soon enough. Let me know down below what you thought of any of these books if you read them, especially if you read Norwegian Wood. Please, dear God, just tell me what you thought. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe like I misunderstood the whole thing and I just like am illiterate, but I don't think so. But you tell me, you let me know. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video for God knows what reason, please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, don't know where I'm pointing, and I will be back with another video next week, and I hope to see you there. Be there or be square. Why am I so... That's like a rectangle. God, just turn this off. Get me out of here. Okay, bye. I love you.